Hello students, we would like to continue our chapter that is from a letter, right? Dear Mr. Gupta, my mother is very ill. I have not been able to go to work for a week. We shall be extremely grateful if you take the trouble to come to see us. Maggie. So Maggie written a letter to Mr. Gupta in order to take her problem as serious. I had told the family with whom I lived about Maggie and her mother. At breakfast, I spoke of the letter. My hostess said, "When you go, take some money with you. The girl has not been able to go to work for a week. She had not received any pay. It is probable that they are hard up." Okay, what is that? I had told the family with whom I lived about Maggie and her mother. So Mr. Gupta told about Maggie and Mrs. Clifford's condition to his wife and family. At breakfast, I spoke of the letter. My hostess said, "What? When you go, take some money with you." My hostess, means my wife, said, "When you go, take some money with you. The girl has not been able to go to work for a week." That means my wife said that you can take some money and gave to Maggie because they are suffering something. She had not received any pay. It is probable that they are hard up, right? So that's about the condition. After breakfast, I took some money and set out for Labatt. I knocked at the door. Maggie opened it. Labatt is a place I already told it that the area Maggie and his family settled. So after breakfast, Mr. Gupta moved to Maggie's house and he knocked the door. Maggie opened the door. Now Mr. Gupta inside the room of Maggie and his family. She was looking much pulled down. Her eyes was hollow and ringed. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Gupta," she exclaimed when she saw me. "It is so kind of you." This has happened in England itself. That means Mr. Gupta is still in England. There, Maggie sent the letter. So Mr. Gupta accepted the letter and he understood the seriousness. That's why Mr. Gupta went to the house of Maggie. Now, Mr. Gupta in the house of Maggie. She was looking much pulled. She means here Maggie. Her eyes was hollow and ringed. Hollow and ringed means not in a good condition. Maybe she cried more. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Gupta," she exclaimed. Why she exclaimed? Exclaim in surprise. Because even a letter, Mr. Gupta now reached in the house of Miss Maggie. So that's why she exclaimed and thanked when she saw me. Okay, it is so kind of you. What is so kind of you? That means Mr. Gupta suddenly come in the house of Maggie as per the letter. "How is your mother, Maggie?" I asked. I means here, Mr. Gupta. Then Miss Maggie said it. "She is sleeping now." Who is she here? Mother. What's her name? Mrs. Clifford. "Her condition is very serious. The doctor says it is aggravated by her anxiety over Frank." Just doctor said it is too serious condition because anxiety, that's a condition of a disease. Anxiety. That means we have a think about more and more about the future, especially Frank. Who is Frank? Mrs. Clifford's son, Miss Maggie's brother. "There is no news from him yet. She may not leave." I tried to console Maggie. I means here Mr. Gupta tried to console. Console means relief. Drying her eyes with my handkerchief. I gave my handkerchief to clean the tears. Maggie controlled herself with an effort and said, "I have a request to make you, Mr. Gupta." "What is it, Maggie?" I asked. "Come into the sitting room and I will tell you," she answered. That means now Maggie wants to tell something to Mr. Gupta. We did tiptoed carefully into the sitting room, lest the sound of our footsteps should disturb the sick woman. That means, who is the sick woman? Mrs. Clifford. Okay. That means, without making any sound, slowly they are reaching in the living room and they are ready to talk. I turned, here Mr. Gupta turned when I reached the center of the room and remained standing there. What is it, Maggie? I repeated my question. What do you want to say, Maggie? Please tell. Maggie gasped. Gasped means look up into my face with the besieging eyes. Besieging the eyes means too much cry and tired. I waited. Then she covered her face with her hands and wept silently. Still, Miss Maggie cried very silently in front of Mr. Gupta. I was in fix. Fix means in confusion. I means here Mr. Gupta. What could I say to conceal this child? Child means here Miss Maggie. How can I control the tears of Miss Maggie? How can I give relief to him, her? Her brother was fighting on the frontier. Frontier means border. Only God knows whether he was alive or dead. Her mother was the only person she had on earth. Okay. The mother, Mrs. Clifford, only believed that my son, that means Frank, is still alive. But Mr. Gupta and Miss Maggie know that he is no more. If she lost her, what would happen? Where in London could this girl on the threshold of adolescence go? So if it is happened, who will look after this family? That's the conditions. I pulled her hands away from her face. Maggie, tell me what you wish me to do. If there is anything I can do to help you, I shall not hesitate. If you want to say anything to me, I will do it. Please tell me what you want. Mr. Gupta, the girl said. Okay, what is that? I do not know what you will think of the request I am going to make. Please forgive me if it is very, very wrong. Then Miss Maggie said it. If I said it after you don't say that it is not good, if my words are not good, please excuse me. What is it? What do you wish to ask? All day yesterday, mother kept saying that if Mr. Gupta would come and gaze into the crystal, he might learn something about to Frank. Mr. Gupta is a Hindu, she said. If only he would come, she said. That is why I wrote to you. What is that? What is it? What do you wish to ask? Yes. Mr. Gupta told to Maggie. And Maggie said to Gupta, all day yesterday, my mother kept saying that if Mr. Gupta would come and gaze into the crystal, he might learn something about Frank. Mr. Gupta is Hindu, she said. Mrs. Clifford said to Maggie, please take Mr. Gupta into home and just look into the crystal because he is an Hindu. That's why he can easily find out Mr. Frank, where is Mr. Frank. So it is told Clifford to Miss Maggie, now Miss Maggie to Clifford. Mr. Gupta. If you want to me try once more, go and bring me the ring, Maggie. Of course, I will do it. Okay, now again trying for that. What is that? Just look into the crystal. That's a blind belief, is it? Yes. But if you don't see anything again this time, I understood what Maggie mean. I was silent. So Mr. Gupta is in really a confusion. That means you want to look after the again to crystal. And if you didn't see anything, you will not see anything, what will I will say to Mrs. Clifford? Mr. Gupta, I have read in books that Hindus are extremely truth-loving. If you could bring yourself to tell mother only once, after looking into the crystal, that Frank is all right, that he is alive, will it be too much of lie? Will it be very, very wrong? As she spoke, tears streamed from her eyes. That means now they have decided to tell lies to Mrs. Clifford. What? Frank is still alive in India. But actually, Frank already dead. I thought it over. I am not very virtuous. I have done my silent, sinful things. Sinful means what is called sin, pabo, right? So they are ready to say that to lie because lie is not good for everyone, is it? But sometimes lie is save the life of some people. So here is they're ready to say lie. What was the lie? That means Frank is alive in India. He is okay, no problem. This is the way they want to talk to Mrs. Clifford. So then they talk about the sin and the lie. What is that? Is it sin? Yes, actually it is a sin. It is a lie. But they are ready to give such kinds of answer because of the health of Mrs. Clifford. Right. All right then. Mr. Gupta, I have read this book, so okay then. I thought of it. I am not very virtuous. I have done my sinful things. So I decided to do this. What is I decided to do this? I decided to do this means I decided to tell lie. It would be the least of my offense. Please, Maggie, don't cry. Where is the ring? Let me take a good look at this time. If I do not see anything, I shall do as you suggest. God will forgive me if it is wrong. So in this case, God will forgive if it is a lie, no problem. So don't cry, I will tell lie to your mother as per your request. So Mr. Gupta, after just look into the mirror crystal, and he decided to tell the lie. What is that? That means Mr. Frank is alive in India, no problem. Maggie brought me the ring. Ring means here, crystal ring. I just took it and said, see if your mother is awake. So, okay, please call Mrs. Clifford also. 50 minutes passed before Maggie came back. Mother is awake and said, I have told her you are here. Yes, mother is now awake before Mrs. Clifford is sleeping. Now Mrs. Clifford, Mr. Gupta, Miss Maggie is rounding in the living room and ready to look. Mr. Gupta ready to look into the crystal ring and find out Mr. Frank. What they decided? They decided to tell lie. What? Mr. Frank is alive in India. He is okay, no problem. But actually, Mr. Frank is already dead. Okay, may I see her now? Please come. I approached the mother's bedside. The ring was in my hand. What is the ring means here? Crystal ring. Wishing her good morning, I said, Mrs. Clifford, your son is alive. He is well. So Mr. Gupta told this lie to Mrs. Clifford. The old woman raised her head and little off the pillow. Did you see that in this crystal? She asked. Yes, Miss Clifford, I answered without any hesitation. I have seen it. I have seen it mean I have seen Mr. Frank is okay now. Her head dropped back. Tears of happiness wailed from his eyes. Wailed mean come. She whispered faintly, God bless you, God bless you. Now, Mrs. Clifford get too much relief. She's her eyes. There comes happiness tears. Then he blessed Mr. Gupta, God bless you, God bless you. Then Mrs. Clifford recovered. Recovered means suddenly Mrs. Clifford's illness gone. Suddenly she gets some kinds of energy. Why? Because Mrs. Clifford now understood that Mr. Frank is alive, he is okay in India. Actually, it was a lie. told by Mr. Gupta to Clifford as per the request of Miss Maggie. Why they said the lies? Because Mrs. Clifford's health is very poor. In order to up the health, they told the lies. Then Mrs. Clifford's condition is explained here. Mrs. Clifford recovered. It was almost time for me to return to my country. I wished to go to Labatt to say goodbye to Maggie and her mother. That means Mrs. Clifford now okay, her illness gone, she is completely healthy. Now the conditions about Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta ready to go back to India. And he said goodbye to Mrs. Clifford and Miss Maggie. But the family was in mourning. Mourning means sad. Here, spelling M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, mourning means sad. Frank had been killed in the fighting in the frontier a month ago. Maggie had sent me a card with a black board. I calculated from the date and found that Frank had been dead some days when I told his mother he was alive and well. I felt ashamed to face Miss Clifford, so I wrote a letter to them announcing my departure and bidding them goodbye. Now, Mr. Gupta ready to go? India. Return back to India. Sorry, right? What happened? That paragraph says about Maggie got a letter from India. That means Mr. Frank already dead in the frontier. At that day, the Mr. Gupta told the lie to Mrs. Clifford. So really, he felt ashamed about that lie. The morning of my last day in London dawned. My means here, Mr. Gupta. I was to leave before night. As I was breakfasting with my family, there was a knock at the door. That is now in this Mr. Gupta house. Miss Maggie wanted to see him. A minute or two later, the maid came and announced. Maid means servant. Please, Mr. Gupta, Mrs. Clifford has come to see you. Oh, it's not Maggie come. Mrs. Clifford come. Mrs. Clifford come in the house. Miss Clifford come in the house of Mr. Gupta. Miss Clifford means, don't confuse. Miss Clifford means here Miss Maggie. Mrs. Clifford means Maggie's mother. Okay. Miss Clifford means the full name of Alice. That means Alice Margaret Clifford. Okay, that's the full name of Maggie. We know that. So Miss Maggie came in the house of Mr. Gupta. My breakfast was unfinished. Maggie had come to say goodbye, lest she has late for office because of me. I took the permission to my hostess means wife, and got up from the table. Maggie was standing in the hall. She was wearing black. I told her into adjoined library and made her sit down. Okay. The library is one of the room, and Mr. Gupta told her, Maggie, to just to come into the library. We want to talk there. So Miss Maggie and Mr. Gupta talk in the library in the house of Mr. Gupta. Are you leaving today? She asked. Miss Maggie asked. Yes, Maggie, today is the day of my departure. How long will it take you to reach your country? Your country means India. Then Gupta said that a little more than 2 weeks. I will stay there 2 weeks in India. In what part of the country do you live? Then Mr. Gupta said that I have entered the Punjab Civil Service. I shall not know exactly where I am posted until I am arrived there. So he is also in civil service employee. So maybe he is appointed in Punjab or some other parts of Punjab. So it's a conversation between Mr. Gupta and Miss Maggie. Okay. Is his frontier is very far from the frontier means boundary of a country, boundary of area. No, it's not very. Okay. Then Miss Maggie said it. Frank is buried at Fort Moore near Dera Khasi Khan. That means Frank already dead. We know that. Mr. Gupta know that. Miss Maggie know that. But Mrs. Clifford don't know that. Okay. Now this burial place. Frank buried in a place called Frank Montreux near Dera Kashikan. That's in India, Punjab or some other area or border area. The girl's eyes was filled with tears as she spoke. When I go to that part of the country, I shall visit your brother's grave and write to you. Mr. Gupta said that I will definitely visit that place, burial place of Mr. Frank. I will write to you. I won't be troublesome for you or inconvenient, Maggie asked. Maggie said, is it any problem for you, disturbance? No, I don't have a disturbance, Mr. Gupta said it. Why should it be? Dera Kasikan is not very far from where I shall be. It will certainly be possible for me to go there same day. I will write you and tell you about it. Definitely I will go the burial place of Frank and then inform to you. It is not a disturbance for me. It is very near to me. There's no problem. You don't think it any bad. So Mrs. Maggie is now relaxed. Maggie's face was filled with gratitude. Yes, thanks. As she thanked me, her voice choked. Choked means not come out properly. She took a shilling out of her pocket. Shilling is rupees or coin in Britain, shilling, out of her pocket and put it down on the table in front of me, saying, please buy flowers. Yes, our title, Price of Flowers, is here, the importance. Please buy flowers with the shilling when you go and lay them on my brother's grave for me. Okay, if you will visit my brother's burial place, you should take this money and buy some flowers and put on this burial place. That means grave here, grave. Grave means Shava Kudira. Yes. In my emotion, I lowered my eyes. So Mr. Gupta also now in trouble. He is also comes tears in his eyes. The child had earned the shilling with so much toil. Toil means effort. I felt like returning into it her, explaining that in our country flowers grow in great perfection and do not have to be purchased. When Maggie gave that shilling on the table, Mr. Gupta is too worried and her eyes comes out tears. Why? Because this too young girl, after his hard work, earned this shilling, and that now that shilling is giving for her brother's grave adorned by flowers. At that time, Mr. Gupta said that you don't worry, you take it back the shilling. I will purchase these flowers because India is a land of too much flowers are in. Without buying, we can get the flowers from this our area. We don't want to purchase the flowers, so you return back your money. The grief in her heart would be seized little, with the good it would be deprived or it. I pick it up for a shilling. At that time, what's that? But I reconsidered, why should I deprive her of the joy this sacrifice would give her? Okay. Oh, then that's the situation is there. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Maggie, I said, I shall use this shilling to buy flowers and put them your brother's grave. Lastly, with the compulsion, Mr. Gupta accepted Maggie's shilling and it in order to buy flowers and adorn what? Adorn the grave of his brother. Mr. Gupta too much the same. He tried for return back the money, but after that time, all time Miss Maggie rejected and she compulsory said it. This is her family money, her sister's money. So you should take money from me. Take money from me and you don't spend it another thing you do is spend it for buy flowers in order to adorn the grave. Maggie stood up. How can I thank you? She said. Now it is time for me to go to work. Goodbye. Remember to write. Maggie now returning his workplace from Mr. Gupta home. He giving shilling to Mr. Gupta for what? In order to buy flowers. That flowers is the price of flowers. That the value of that flowers is high because of that young girl work hard, earn shilling, and that shilling is now spent for her brother's grave. So that is the price of flowers' importance. Now she returned back to her workplace, and Mr. Gupta told that I will write to you. Don't worry. I got up, Mr. Gupta, and he took her hand in mine. Goodbye, Maggie. God bless you, I said, and pressed her hand to my lips. Maggie laughed. I wiped a tear or two from my eyes and went upstairs to pack my baggage. So that's why the story ends. That means Maggie went back to his workplace. They say goodbye. We will see you soon. Write the letter. At that time, there's no mobile or phone. So at that time, Mr. Gupta's eyes are filled with tears because the young girl and her mother, who will look after them, and also the workaholic girl, what will happen the next. So this kind of thoughts what clung the minds of Mr. Gupta. Anyway, Mr. Gupta said goodbye and returned back to home and ready for the journey to India and ready for the baggage. That's about this price of flowers. I think you are enjoy this story very much, is it? So there is too much question answer and everything is there. See that reporter speech is very important. See that how it is comes as reporter speech and everything is the meaning is also there. Too much meaning. Question answer is also there. Should have to write and a very important review of the story. Character sketch of Maggie. Character sketch of Mr. Gupta. Character sketch of Mrs. Clifford. Everything is very important. But there is no character sketch of Mr. Gupta and Mrs. Clifford, but you should, very important for that, it is you can accept such kinds of a question from this. Okay. So this is the things you must be remember. Very important question, the character sketch of 3 and also the review of the story is also very important, and the reporter speech or conversation between them, that is also very important. Here is also too much questions as comes. Should have to write. See this here also questions comes should try. Okay, so far we completed this chapter. How many chapters we have completed? We have completed so many chapters we have completed, is it? So next chapter we want to go, that is Death Leveler, a poem, is it? So you should have to write and show the notes on my WhatsApp, not in group, personal WhatsApp, right? But still nobody have to show these notes, I think so. And how many chapter we are completed so far? We are so far completed 1 2 3 4 5 6 chapter we are completed. First unit and the second unit also near to we are completed. If one chapter completed, the second unit also we are completed. First is first flight, second I will fly, third cost, fourth theory of everything, fourth if, sixth, and then Gandhi came, and sixth price of flowers, is it? So it's very important chapters. Review is very important, and this conversation between Maggie and Gupta, Maggie and Mrs. Clifford is also very important. See that activities, everything is there. You must be know very well about the character sketch. But once the exam comes, character sketch of Mrs. Clifford, once come the character sketch of Mr. Gupta. So you should have to write in your own way by you understanding the story, right? So character sketch of Maggie is there. So the questions and everything is there. See that. If you study the questions, you can easily attempt to write review. All right, and too much word meaning also here. So I showed here. The questions is also there, and the conversation is reported. Conversation is there. How to change the conversation? See that one. This girl asked the whether I was. That one is very important. And also letter writing is also comes. Letter also, you know how to write a letter. I already told in the last class, last chapters, right? So we are reporting this price of our reporting. Sentence or story reporting. That is also very important. Reporting activity 9th. Reporting the sentence. You don't write the report. Some people are questioning. Some students are, doubt about what is reporting. Reporting means a reporter speech. Okay, you must be right how to write the reporter speech. So that is also I given here, and a letter and write up. That is also very important. Reporting also very important. Okay, then character sketch of Maggie already here, and the profile of this person also here. You should have to read this 3 or 4 times, then you can easily understand where it is, how it is, what is the deepness of the character sketch. Deep. Then you can write the character sketch of Mrs. Clifford and Mr. Gupta. Otherwise, you couldn't. So you should have to read 3 or 4 or 5, as much as time, then you can get this very easy. Because this very important is reporting the sentence. That means try to in the direct speech to indirect speech. That is reported. That means reported sentence means indirect speech, same word. Okay, then review, character sketch, letter. That's also very important, that you must study that one, then only you can appear the examination. Very important, that one. That important only I said it. Reporting, character sketch, 3 character sketch, 1 reporting sentence, and write letter and a review. That is a very important of this. Or sometimes email, you know how to write email and how to write letters also very important there. Okay, that's about this. You should have to know how to write it. So that's about this. So you should have to study properly. Then we will take into next chapter. That means next chapter in next class. Next class we will take that one. Okay. So the Pipes of Flowers is already over. See. Yes, I hope that you will enjoy this story. That was beautiful story in this textbook. There is no any other important stories in the textbook. This is a first one. Then only 1 or 2 stories there, but this is very important one. And I think if you are kind and good heart, you can easily melt your hurt. Is it? So such kinds of situations are here in so many paragraphs. We can see the tears, heartbreaking news, and kindness or helpless situations. So if you get relief for someone worse, so assistance, help. So here is also said it, the man should have to so kind or to give too kind to someone, those who have want the help. We should have to express our kindness to humanity. That's the best examples here as Mr. Gupta showed his personality of kindness here and there. Right? Okay, that's about this. We will see you in the next class. Up to that time, take care. Bye.